Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something clicked.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
Well, the part that shows up a lot in me is I have a really anxious, fearful part. And, that's what we've been working on,
okay.
I think, more. And I know I've, grown a lot from it. But it still comes up, just that fearful. I don't always know what do they say? The tailgates, the triggers, and
trailheads.
Some of them I know. And that's something we don't talk a lot about when I do my therapy. It's, it's not that's a tailgater, that's a
trailhead,
a protector. And I think if I heard that more, it would be easier for me to do it when I'm not in the session, too.
That's good to know.
And on one of your podcasts, there was somebody shared about boredom.
Yes.
And that hit me because sometimes that's where I tend to get a little more anxious, filling my time and that may come from when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
Where it all started. So, but those are the most.
I'm happy to explore all that. And if you want to get started, we can get started. I usually like to start with a minute of just quiet meditation. And then I'll ask again kind of if there's a specific part you'd like to get to know better, or if you just want to talk, if you want to share a trailhead, just whatever's been coming up for you. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, I'll set a timer for a minute. Okay. So do you have a part you'd like to get to know better or change your relationship with?
It's, I would say the fearful, the anxious part and people leaving, and it all ties in.
People leaving?
Yeah, when I get anxious, thinking people are leaving me or being alone.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned earlier about the language of protectors and exiles. So when I hear anxiety and maybe fear or sadness around being alone, to me that sounds like kind of exile energy. Does that make sense to you, or do you want me to explain that a little more?
Could you just explain it a little more so I'll be clear?
Sure. So, protectors are usually either managerial, in that they are kind of pushing us to be busy, to play it cool, to keep things under control. Or they are firefighters, in which case that often shows up like addiction or self-harming or kind of the more antisocial kind of behaviors. And then those parts, those protective parts, they are usually trying to keep at bay this exile kind of energy, which is often more of a sadness or a shame, a feeling of worthlessness, a feeling of not being good enough or of not being loved, or that people won't love you. And so when you said what you said about that part, I thought that sounds kind of like an exile. Exiled by these protectors, they push that away.
Yeah, when you mentioned like worthlessness, it's like, yeah, all those things come in, feeling worthless.
Yeah.
Alone sometimes. And, I struggle with codependency too. So, and yes, being alone sometimes, thinking I have to fill up my time. So I don't have to feel that. So yes, the days I don't have as much to do when I'm home. I do notice that's when it does hit me. And other days, that part of me is perfectly happy and content.
Right. Have you?
Yeah, the worthlessness in that.
In your other work in IFS, have you directly worked with that part that has that anxiety or that feeling of worthlessness?
We have, and it's gone back, basically when I was that little girl.
Yeah, you said.
In the hospital for 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
I had broken my arm, and I was so bad when my mother came, they told her she shouldn't come anymore because it upset me, so she didn't. So that was like an abandonment. And, I had 2 weeks, like, I have no clue what I did. I can just imagine I had so much time on my hand, and my dad used to come every morning to visit me before work.
Yeah.
And to this day, I have a tough time in the mornings too when I wake up. Fear and again, some days are better than others.
Yeah.
But so
And have you?
And I'm trying to learn how to feel it and to talk to it. And
yeah,
I'm sorry.
And what's your progress been like there? Have you, when you've worked with that part with your therapist, have you gone through like an unburdening process? Have you been able to sit with that part and get to know it from a place of self and a place of real compassion?
We do that. Sometimes I can feel it more than other times when we do it. I mean, when it continues to come back, I don't know if that means I didn't unburden it or it's just another layer.
It's a good question.
Of stuff. That's what I don't know.
Yes. There are a handful of reasons why unburdenings unstick, and I have them on a list somewhere. But yeah. Anyway, I could look at that and share that with you. But in general, and the reason I was asking about that, in general, when I meet someone new, I have kind of say a policy of like, I want to get to know protectors first because we need to get their permission to go to the exile, because we don't want to, disturb too much that ecosystem in there. So that's why I was kind of trying to get a feel for how much of that work you've already done.
I don't think we've actually really gone to the protectors first. When I'm talking and a part comes in, it's mentioned to thank that part and to see if it can step aside. But I guess I do have a lot of protectors, though. Yes. I want to isolate. I don't want to confront. I tend to stay away from whatever I think is going to happen, so I won't be scared. Thinking you have to fill your time up.
Yes.
And do something.
Yeah, it's possible that you might have done that work without so much permission or even recognition from the protectors. It's possible that they were threatened by that unburdening, and it's possible that they would even come back stronger, out of resentment or higher, more fear that you're going to that vulnerable place without going to them first.
Yeah, because sometimes I did feel worse after, and other times I felt okay. So,
yeah. So
I don't know. That's just my experience. So I don't,
So that would be my suggestion, is that we start with one of those protectors. For example, the one that feels the need to fill up the time, as you say. And just get to know that part and just see what it has to say, or any of the protective parts.
I'm trying to think. To me, they all go into each other, but I understand what you mean, to get to know each one.
Yeah.
I have a question too. It's like projecting into the future. Is that like a protector too? Thinking I can figure it out so I won't be scared, or trying to control it?
Yeah, sounds like it.
Because I think that's a big thing. And I remember when I was younger, just being like that, thinking ahead so much. And I think that may be one of my biggest, because if I could stay in the day, but yes, thinking ahead.
Okay. Would you like to?
I think that I think that to me, that's more than having to fill up my time. Because if I stay right where I am now, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking ahead, and it's not so scary, like so overwhelming.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I can beat myself up for feeling so not good enough because I can't do it right. So I think that's the biggest, is the projection, the trying to go into the future.
Okay.
So I can fix it, so I won't have to feel it.
All right.
Or deal with it.
Okay. So would you like to try to get to know that part a little better?
I would. I'm nervous, but yeah.
Well, if there's anything that you would like, or you want to address that nervousness first, we can do that. We could ask it what its concern is.
That I'm not going to do it right.
Do the IFS stuff right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I'm not going to do it right.
Yeah. Does that make sense to you, that it would be concerned about that?
Yeah. I was more of a perfectionist before. Not as much as I was, but yes, I want to, I guess, just do it right, so everything will go away.
Me too. I want to do it right too. I have that part too. So
yeah. So make it all better, and I won't
right
have all these fears.
Right. So see if you can just let that part know that you get it, that you appreciate its intention, that you see it, that it makes sense to you.
I can't see I can't picture it, but I did talk to the part. That's one thing I don't always like see it. And I know they say it's in different parts of your body.
Right.
And there's times I don't feel it in my body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Was that part receptive when you told it that you acknowledged it? How did it respond to that?
It felt a little nervous.
Mm-hmm.
This time I could feel like a little lump in my throat, and but usually my parts, they usually say, okay, fine,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
well, we don't want to push past any concerns, and that all those concerns are valid. So just let it know that, and let it know that we can keep listening to it if it has more it wants to say about that.
I find myself just telling it it's okay. If it, it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I don't have to do it right.
Yeah, is it receptive to that?
A little bit, yeah. It's like I am comforting it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't receive that growing up.
Sure. You could also let it know that, it's welcome to jump back in. Like if it is able to kind of step back and trust you to do this work, well, that doesn't mean that we're banishing it. It's kind of like putting it in a waiting room, and it can come knocking back on the door if it feels the need to at any time.
It sure will. I'm feeling a little sad, and a little bit of sadness comes in there too.
Yeah. And what's that about? Do you know?
When I was, comforting myself,
Mm-hmm.
I guess wanting that so much.
Mm-hmm.
And not receiving it, where I feel I should have got it growing up.
Right.
And now still reaching out to others for that. And I'm learning to try to comfort myself. Yeah. So yeah, there's a sadness.
And are you okay with that sadness right now, the way it's showing up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Let it know that you're okay with that. If that makes sense too.
Yeah. Part of it's like, it kind of is a relief in a way. Because it's so nice when I can comfort that part.
Yeah, it is. It's a relief. And it's got the relief and it has the grief, kind of a bittersweet of when you have that love, that ability to comfort parts. They enjoy it, and they also are maybe reminded of what they didn't receive earlier.
Yeah, and that's what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I am here now for that part.
Yeah. How do these parts?
And I have to know it's okay. I'm sorry. No, and I have to know it's okay if I cry. It's part of the healing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, would you like to keep staying with these parts, or would you like to check with them and see if they'd be okay now, trusting you to do this work with the projecting into the future part?
No, I think we're good to go.
Good. Thank them. And yes, you talked earlier about visiting all the parts, and I think that is the aim. So, they'll be there for you to revisit.
Yep, that I know.
Yeah. All right. So this part that does the projecting into the future. What's that like when it comes up? How do you notice it, or where do you notice it in or around your body?
Sometimes because it gets anxious when I do that. So sometimes it feels like a pit in my stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I can't even explain it.
Yeah. How do you?
Like it comes through my body like an anxious feeling. It like comes up through my body. And then, the part that can just keep obsessing and knowing something's going to happen and I can't change it and I won't be able to deal with it.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things. So of course I want to try to change it so that'll all go away.
Sure.
So sometimes reality can be very overwhelming for me.
Certainly.
And
how you?
I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask how you're feeling towards this part now. This part that has that obsessing quality or that projecting into the future quality.
I get upset with it sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like things don't, in my mind, things usually work out and I can't. Why am I wasting all my energy on that?
Right. Yeah, so that makes sense that this part's wasting your energy. It's focusing on something doesn't feel helpful to you, and you'd want to push it away, right?
Yeah, I wish I could push it away, but some days I can get really in it, and it's like then my brain feels full, my mind feels full, and it gets that part of me gets tired.
So this part of you that gets upset with it, can you ask that part to step back for a moment, just to allow you to work with the projecting part a little bit and see how it responds?
I could just hear something say, but I have to protect it.
Does that make sense?
For what? I don't know.
Okay.
That's all I heard.
Yeah, you could ask. You could ask what it wants to protect it from, or why it's protecting it.
I don't know if I'm really getting a clear answer.
Mm-hmm. Did it feel like it was coming from that part that gets upset with it?
Well, as soon as you had asked, that's the first thing that popped into my mind.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we don't want to push past that.
And that's another thing. It's like, am I really hearing this, or, am I putting those words in my head? So.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think that I know I have that part in me too, that has that kind of question of, the validity or the authenticity of what's coming out of my mouth. But it came from somewhere, like it's all in you. So
It's to listen to it, to be able to listen to it and acknowledge it. And I think the upset part just thinks, you're still working on this. Frustration and judgment, judging it.
yeah.
The critical part, that comes in too.
Yeah. And does that make sense that it's frustrated about how long you've worked on this?
Yeah.
Good. Can you show it that you see that, or that makes sense to you?
A little bit of sadness comes in because it's like, it feels good when I can say that to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to be, again, perfect. And it's not going to happen all at once because I have come a long way.
Yeah.
And
is that kind of like that sweet sadness again, where it likes being acknowledged and.
Yeah, I think, just it feels good to be comforted.
Yeah.
Instead of, me wanting to run to people all the time. And that's not always a healthy thing.
Sure, you got all these people inside of you that want you to run to them.
And I attach myself to people outside of me, the attachment, the abandonment stuff. And so projecting a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think I won't have to feel any of that stuff.
Yeah.
When something happens or keeps my mind busy. So.
Yeah. So this part that gets upset with the projecting part, just let it know that that's your aim with all the parts, is to do what you did with it, is to acknowledge it, to learn about it, and to go to it so that you can maybe help it not have to work so hard.
Saying that would be awesome.
Great. And now how are you feeling towards the thinking ahead part, the projecting into the future part?
Not as bad as I did.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a little like I don't get that. I'm making that noise like that.
Yeah.
Feeling. I don't know if you know what I mean, but it's. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, my God, it's like gloom and doom, or.
Yeah.
I can't think of the word, but.
Yeah, good. So think those parts that were able to soften back. And if you're feeling curious and compassionate about this part that does the projecting, then just let it know that. Let it know you're curious about it.
There's a part of me that is curious, because it wants to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the part, it's like, oh no, if I really know, then I have to do something.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. That's right. Yeah. And there's there's the fear of failure, and then there's the fear of success, right? There's the fear of the concern about when you've gotten to this place that maybe you haven't been before, or this work that you haven't done might just be more work.
And am I capable of doing it?
Right.
And the funny thing is, I am doing it.
You're doing it right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let that part know your real age.
I'm old.
Show it that the work you've just done with these other parts and how you're able to acknowledge them and touch them in a way that they receive and respond to.
It's like saying thank you.
Yeah.
It's like I'm telling my mother thank you, but I'm not its mother. Do you know what? The part's mother, but I feel like I'm saying thank you to my mother. And I feel sad again.
Yeah, you okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
You're doing great. Just let those parts know that you're fine with that. You're fine with the sadness. You're okay with sitting with it, acknowledging it, just being there with them.
And it is okay. It's like I could see like the little girl wanting a hug.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to deprive myself if I can trust that I am there with it, with that part.
Right. That's really what all this is building that trust with these parts, that you will be there, that you can be there, that you're well qualified to give them what they need.
Yeah. Just growing up thinking you're not good enough and you shouldn't feel this or feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't give you that good sense of self-worth or confidence and trust in yourself.
Yeah. And I think we all have that at some point. At some point in our childhoods or in our lives, we have those feelings that come up. And so perfectly, it's the most common response. It's how we all respond is in the way that these parts respond. So let that little girl know that you want to get to her. And I would still suggest that we go protectors first.
Okay.
We've done a lot already. So if you're feeling like this is a lot, or you can stop at any time. I'm gonna keep kind of asking you to turn back to that first protector we talked about, but only because it's kind of what we put on the map. We can go anywhere.
No, that is fine. You tell me when.
All right.
when we're done and if I keep going off the course.
This is great. What you're doing is wonderful in that you're responding to every part that comes up. You know, that's what they need.
Yeah, it's like, it's about time. In my mind just came up like, it's about time.
Right. Yeah, they all need it. Now, how are you feeling towards that part that projects into the future?
I feel I understand it more. There's that part that still feels like, you want it to go away, but I do understand it better. That I'm not going to die. I'm not going to, if I don't protect myself with that the world's not going to fall apart.
Yeah. But if this part is feeling that way, then we could find out why. Figure out if there's more that it wants us to know about that, wants you to know about that. So you up for that? You want to just ask it what else it wants you to know?
Yeah, when you started, wanting me to ask it, it's just being alone came out like, I don't want to be alone.
Yeah, that's its main concern.
Or left alone, so for too long of a period, I guess. There's just so much that one part can just take care of, so much time. And then but I don't know what, if it's afraid of, I know the part's not afraid anything's going to happen to me, anything bad.
Yeah, but it has that fear of the alone, which
feeling not good enough,
right,
worthy,
right,
to protect. And I don't have to look at that stuff.
And that's what it's doing is trying to keep you from looking at it. Is that right?
I think having to look at my life, like, what do I want? What's my life without others?
And is this, again, the part that does the projecting into the future?
Yeah.
How does it
I feel like I'm
go ahead.
Not making sense. I just feel like it's that I'm not making sense, but I know it all does.
If it makes sense to you, that's what matters. And you showing the parts that it makes sense to you is what matters. I don't need to know the whole story of all the parts and all their histories.
Okay.
And I'm not saying I don't want to, but just that's the important work is that they're able to communicate with you. So how does it like this job that it does of projecting into the future? Or how long has it been doing it?
Since I was younger. I can just remember, knowing someone was going away, and I would just, the part of me would just get really scared and didn't want them to leave. And so I would project, oh, there's just so many days. Now there's this many days, and the anticipation.
Yeah, it sounds like it takes a lot of energy to do all that.
It does.
Yeah. And how does that part feel about using its energy in that way? How does it like that job?
It's not as angry at it as when we first started to talk about it, but it's like I put a lot on myself.
Yeah.
That part puts a lot on me.
Yeah. Sounds kind
keeps my mind busy, but
yeah. And you see that what it's afraid of, if it didn't do that, is that pain of being alone, right?
Yeah. Not having life.
Yeah. So just
not being attached, I guess, to someone. Not being.
Just let it know that you see that makes sense to you. And see if you can show it some appreciation for its intention. It wants to keep that feeling away. It wants to keep that pain away.
I don't know if it's quite sure of what I'm saying to it. Like, if it, right now at this time, if it trusts me.
What are you saying to it?
What you had said, to just appreciate it. And I know it's there. And, it's just, to me, it's like trying to let it know it doesn't have to protect me.
Well, I think that there's a subtle difference in kind of telling it doesn't have to do its job versus appreciating it for doing its job and kind of validating that it has worked very hard.
And I feel like I'm giving into it. Does that validating it? I guess it does. It makes it more real.
Yes. And a lot of times that's the fear of parts, is that if we go to them, we validate them, well, won't they just get bigger? But I think that it actually has the opposite effect of they feel understood, and then they don't have to shout as loud.
I'm glad you said that, because I did hear that and I totally forgot about that, because that was my first thing, when it's like, just to validate it. It's like, and then when you just reminded me, when you validate it, it is so different than what I thought. It's like accepting your feelings, and what a difference.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't have to do anything about it right away. Just validate it. And
right.
Because me, I could go into wanting to fix it.
Right.
But just validating and it, letting it know that I heard it and it's okay, does make a big difference. I can feel that now.
Yeah. And how about appreciation? Can you see that it's worked very hard, can you see that what it wants to protect you from is very real and very painful? And appreciate it and show it that. Again, appreciating its intent, maybe not its impact.
I don't know if I'm doing it like I'm feel like I'm struggling a little.
Okay.
Appreciating it.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally different than like accepting it, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know if it's totally different, but
like appreciating means I'm grateful, right?
For its intention, for its intention to protect you. You might think of it like a person in the military, and we kind of have the tradition of thanking our troops. It doesn't mean you agree with the war. It doesn't mean you like the politician that sent them there. But the intention of protecting you.
I think I'm understanding it a little more. Sometimes I have a hard time understanding. But to be grateful. Because in a way, when I can say that, it's like, wow, I have someone that cares enough that wants to protect me.
Yeah.
That came to my mind. It's like there's somebody that really inside me that wants to protect me because no one else did.
Yeah, you're on the same team.
That just came to me like in a, wow. That's all I can say, I guess, is wow.
Yeah, just show that to the part. Again, that appreciation.
I feel like we're jumping up and down.
That's awesome.
Like we scored or something.
That's right.
I don't know. It's just a weird.
Yeah. Yeah, you're on the same team. You have the same goal, really, of helping the things that hurt, the parts that hurt. And it just has a different way of going about it. It had kind of the way that worked for it at the time, which might have been when you were 5 years old that this part decided to do what it does. And that's just the tools you had then. So if you want to keep going, I just have a couple more questions that I would offer for this part that you're jumping up and down with.
Yeah, I want you to, do what you need to do, but I don't want to take up all your time either.
This is my favorite thing to do. So this is like, I'm very happy to be spending my time this way.
I appreciate it so much.
Me too. Okay, this part, the part that projects. And now you've appreciated how it has protected you or tried. What would it rather be doing with its energy inside of you if it didn't have to work so hard?
Just going through my days, just not so crazy, just like relaxing and enjoying what's there.
Yeah. Yeah, I just would rather be relaxing in the present.
And just because I know those days that I have, it's like, wow, I see things in the day that I wouldn't normally see if I was wrapped into the anxiety, and I have like a appreciation for life more.
Right. Right.
It's that peace and that I'm at ease, like I'm content.
Yeah. Yeah, so just let it know that that's a possibility if it's able to trust you and to let you go again to these younger parts that are so afraid of being alone and not good enough, and that if you can heal them and help them, that this part may be able to have more relaxing in its life, in its experience. You could try asking it how old it thinks you are.
How old the part thinks I am?
Yeah.
I sure don't feel like my age now. I don't know if it's giving me a clear.
Mm-hmm.
How old do you think I am? I could probably tell you how old I feel I am, because when this is happening, I feel like a younger child.
Yeah. Like how young? Teens.
I'm trying to think. What is like elementary school?
Mm-hmm.
Like 5th grade and that. Is that like 10?
Yeah, 10, 11.
Yeah, that kind of came to my mind when it seems like a lot of it became more.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when it started doing its job so much, it sounds like.
Well, more of it.
More
I
of it.
believe, that I was maybe more aware.
Yeah. So let it know your real age. Updated on the current year. And my last question for this part is, what does it need from you going forward?
That's my dog lapping her water.
I barely hear it.
Okay. I don't want you to wonder, what is that noise? It just wants me to be there for it and to not have to fear it and try to run.
Yeah.
To accept it and comfort it.
And how do you feel about doing that with it?
I get like this feeling in my throat. It's a good feeling in a way.
Yeah.
Like, I know when I do it, it feels really good again, because my way too was depending on others, and to be able to do it myself is like, I want to say so much easier.
It's a lot more efficient.
Efficient, yeah.
Ironically, we look outside for fixes out there in the world, and we can spend a lifetime doing that and ignoring, that inward turn, that ability to shine that light on parts of ourselves.
Something so really can be so simple.
Yeah.
And not so complicated. And yeah. Because when I know I'm there for me, I have that good feeling that it's like, it's okay if I'm alone.
Yeah.
That part's like comforted.
Yeah. And again, you might have a ton of other parts that have something to say about that, or that have their own, needs that need to be addressed. But with this part that does the projecting, you were able to show it appreciation. You were able to see what it really wants, and be in that place with it. So And that's what it wants, is just to be in that place with you and see you for who you really are. So that's kind of the homework. That's the prescription, is to continue doing that. Just specifically with this part, when it comes up again, or before it comes up again, kind of letting it know that you remember it and that you want what it wants, and that you're there for it.
So just keep letting it know that I'm there for it and I see it.
Yeah.
And comfort it too.
Yeah. You just listen. You might kind of just ask again some of the questions that we already asked today, or just kind of open-ended. Tell me more. What are you concerned about? And just get in that practice of listening to it.
Wow, this is even more, if I can say this, than with my therapy. It's like more. I feel like I've gotten out of it more. In a way.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Things that you're saying, to continue to keep trying to do when that part comes up. And it's learning too. And, I may go forward and go back, and it's a learning, it's a new behavior, a new habit, like.
Right. And it takes that amount of time, just like building a new habit, building the trusting relationship with this part, learning what it needs and practicing being open to it.
Wow. It is. It really is neat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And
I appreciate you doing this. I really, truly do.
Yeah, I'm having a blast. And thank all those parts that were able to make space for you to do this work. You had a lot of parts that had concerns about it, and they all responded to you, and they all kind of made way for you to do this work. So thank all of them, and let them know that this is something that you want to do with all of them.
And I like how that you chose the protectors first.
Yes.
And can I ask, I know I guess I did kind of go off from the protector part. Is that, that's a normal thing, right? Just have to keep bringing ourselves back.
Well, when you say go off of that protector part, are you referring to the other parts that kind of didn't want to go there, or were objecting to
the different parts that were coming out?
I think those are all protectors. And they all have it's like a big family. It's an internal family, and they've been around for a while. They know each other well, and they push and pull, and they're suspicious of each other, and they don't get along often, and so it's totally normal for that to happen. You try to sit down with one person in the family, and you have 5 others who have something that they want to add or to say why they should go first, and that's completely normal.
I love the way you explain that. That is that is so cool.
Yeah.
I just wrote that stuff down. So when you said at the end, like what to work on, and I need to write things down.
Good, me too. Well, hey, it's all recorded too. So even if we don't share it, I'll share it with you.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still going to do next week?
Yeah, I think be on the calendar for next Wednesday. So.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you
so much.
It's been a blast. It's been nice to meet you.
You did awesome,
Thank you. Thank you.
I do. I so appreciate it.
All right. Well, looking forward to doing more in a week.
Thank you again. And I will see you next week.
Okay. Have a good night.
All right.
Bye.
You too. Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows, that might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.